The 2026 Honda Pilot has already been tied to a steering recall, a fuel leak recall, and an engine stall recall, and most of these trucks haven't even hit their first oil change yet. If you're shopping for this family SUV right now, there are 7 things you need to hear before you put a deposit down, because the brochure isn't going to tell you any of them. Here's why this car even matters. The Pilot has been Honda's 3-row family hauler since 2002, and it's still one of the best-selling midsize SUVs in America. For 2026, it gets a tougher-looking grille, a bigger 12.3-inch touchscreen, a larger digital gauge cluster, retuned steering, and a quieter cabin. On paper, it's a solid evolution of an already popular vehicle. But specs and screens aren't the same thing as real-world ownership. So let's get into what actually happens once you're a few thousand miles in. Problem number 1 is steering. Problem number 1 is steering. Across this current generation, steering has consistently been the single most reported complaint category to the federal government's safety database, 3 years running. Honda already issued a recall for a manufacturing defect where a loose ball bearing inside the steering gearbox could cause a loss of steering control. Honda retuned the steering for 2026 to feel more solid, which is a good sign, but the track record means it's worth paying close attention during your test drive, not just assuming it's fixed. Problem 2 is electrical reliability. Owners have reported keyless entry and remote start systems failing in hot weather, glitchy infotainment screens, backup camera dropouts, and control module failures that required a trip to the dealer. Consumer Reports' own owner surveys flagged the infotainment system and camera systems as a recurring weak point on recent pilots. None of this is catastrophic on its own, but it's exactly the kind of small, recurring annoyance that erodes trust in a vehicle you're paying for over 6 or 7 years. Problem 3. False safety alerts. Problem 3 is the safety tech crying wolf. A meaningful number of owners report the collision mitigation braking system slamming on the brakes or sounding alarms with no actual obstacle in front of them. On a packed highway with kids in the backseat, an unexpected hard brake from a system that's supposed to protect you is more than an inconvenience. It's a real safety concern in its own right. Problem 4. Fuel system recalls. Problem 4 is the fuel system. This generation has had 2 serious recalls tied to fuel delivery, one for a fuel filler neck that could separate and leak fuel near an ignition source, and another for a software error in the fuel injection control unit that could cause the engine to stall or lose power while driving. Both have been addressed by Honda, but if you're buying used or even getting a fresh off the truck 2026, you need to confirm with the VIN that every campaign has actually been completed. Problem 5. No hybrid, worse fuel economy. Problem 5 is fuel economy. The Pilot still runs a naturally aspirated V6 with no hybrid option, topping out around 22 mpg combined. Rivals like the Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid have been tested over 10 mpg better. Over 5 years of ownership, that gap is hundreds of dollars a year out of your pocket, and it's the Pilot's most consistent criticism from nearly every major reviewer. Problem 6 is the warranty. Honda covers the Pilot for 3 years or 36,000 miles bumper to bumper and 5 years or 60,000 miles on the powertrain. Kia and Hyundai cover the Telluride and Palisade for significantly longer. Given everything we just covered about recalls and electrical issues, that shorter coverage window matters more here than it would on a car with a cleaner track record. Problem 7. Value for money. Problem 7 is value. Once you climb into touring, trail sport, or elite trims, real-world pricing pushes well into the high $40,000 and even past $50,000. At that price, competitors are loading in more standard features, nicer materials, and in some cases a hybrid powertrain for similar or less money. The Pilot still wins on interior space and that solid built-to-last cabin feel, but dollar for dollar, it's not the clear winner it used to be. Who should buy versus who should skip? So who should actually buy this thing? If you want a roomy, comfortable family SUV with proven V6 power, real towing capability, and you value Honda's massive dealer and parts network over chasing the best MPG number, the Pilot still makes sense, especially if you do your homework on recalls first. Skip it if fuel economy is a priority, if you want the longest warranty protection for peace of mind, or if recurring electrical and tech glitches are a deal breaker. In that case, the redesigned Telluride, Palisade, or a hybrid 3-row are worth a serious look before you commit. The 2026 Honda Pilot isn't a bad SUV. It's a competent, comfortable family hauler with a few real, documented issues you deserve to know about before you sign. Before you buy, run the VIN, check for open recalls, and pay close attention to the steering and infotainment on your test drive. If breakdowns like this actually help you make a smarter car decision, consider subscribing. We put out honest reviews like this every week.